Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Devontae Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is RichiRichEh of the MHRT network. To my left is Coach Defense of Lockdown Defense. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, sir. How you doing?
I am doing much better. I have had more than 5 minutes to sit down in a chair today. I moved last Wednesday for our podcast, literally minutes before we started live. My internet was set up. So it was quite the move, let me tell you. But I am a little bit more settled now. I have a little over half my boxes unpacked. And the fact that I've been doing that all alone, I'd say that's a feat in and of itself. And what about you? How everything else going all right with you guys? I haven't caught you and Coach Kurt in a little bit.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We had our Philadelphia insider, Coach Benson, on with us last night, giving us all details on 76ers and Eagles football. So, yeah, we had a pretty good show last night. So check the replay out if you haven't. Lockdown Defense Podcast in your search engines. But, yeah, we had a great show last night, and we're looking forward to a good show today.
Fantastic. Alex, for those of you who don't know, this is Alex Givens from the Arrowhead Addict, and KC superfan, happens to also live in the area. Alex, how are you?
Yeah, the AFC West champion, KC Chiefs. I know I already said it to you guys, but I'm gonna say it again for everyone, just so we all are aware, in case we weren't. So doing good.
Just so you're aware, Alex, I do have the Dr. Evil button that opens up and ejects you from the show. I thought I'd throw that out there. Just
Ejectocito, cuz.
I love this button.
They threw me a freaking bone here. Threw me a freaking bone.
Look, they're
do you
sharks.
Do you have the sharks?
Beams.
Yeah, do you have the freaking sharks?
Laser beams.
And I figured of all people, you would need it. So I had you at the forefront of my mind with that comment. AFC West
Preparations A through G were all taken.
Yes, I agree. Preparation H is good on the whole.
On the whole. So, Captain, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm actually just hanging out with the crew here. I'm multitasking. I'm saying hello to Raiders Fan Radio on their YouTube channel, saying hello because I needed to say hi for just coming back from a weekend on the Blitnikoff charity event. That was Friday. And then, of course, we had a game Saturday, and I say we because it's the inclusive we. The Gators did not show up. literally, they did not show up out in the Las Vegas Bowl. But it was basically everybody was waiting to go to the NFL draft. And Alex, damn it, Matt, you're taking
I was
some of
going to
my
talk
stuff,
about it,
man. You're taking some of my stuff. But again, I want to say, before they go into that, that gives a very bad name and a bad taste towards all of the rest of the folks that are, and I use my own term, easily recognizable fans, because I hate the term super fans. Easily recognizable fans. The one person that Alex will be able to talk about is just one person, guys. It's one person. So don't think that all of us are schmucks like that. Alex, if you want to take that, go right ahead.
Yeah. Well, I see, as Matt indicated, I wasn't sure how many people would know about this or not, because it obviously blew up on Chiefs Twitter, but has made its way to national headlines. But yeah, for people who don't know, despite the W on Sunday, there was a Chiefs superfan, Chiefsaholic. You should look at some of his tweets now in hindsight. They're pretty good. Was arrested in Bigsby, Oklahoma for robbing a teacher's credit union, allegedly on his way to the Texans game. Dude is like a warehouse worker, and people didn't know how he was making these $2,000 bets on the Chiefs every week. Has like I said, go look at his tweets now, but he had one where he told a fan, like, I got a pretty good side hustle. So I guess he's been just robbing banks when he goes to away games to to fund his activities, so to speak. And it finally caught up to him. There was some rumors that he allegedly robbed the bank in the wolf hat that he wears, but I don't think that's true. The photo that was circulating around is like from 2016, so it's not the same, although can't rule it out. But he's going to be at summer camp for a while, so won't expect to see him. Won't expect to see him on the sidelines. But yeah, he was like DZ said, he was like dropping $1,000 plus bets on the Chiefs and not winning them. And people are like, "How are you affording this?" And he said, I have it right here, actually. He said, "Yeah, I make a good living, plus I hustle in private. House money I'm playing with." Now we know.
Now you know. April.
Yeah, so that's but that's just that's a Hollywood high smooth. That's Ocean's 15 right there.
Yeah.
We skipped ahead, right?
Yeah.
Now, Mundungus has a question. I mean, that sounds a lot more like a pirate move, no?
It does. Going after the booty.
Hey. Just because they think Raider fans get weekend passes from Lompoc and Chino and all the other ones, there are some of us who actually have jobs in order to afford going to these games, okay? So, again, Mundungus, and you know better, you bastard, because I met you in Denver. Okay? So you know that that's not true, shipmate. Hoorah, hoorah.
Yeah, the only thing would have made it better is if he dressed in a Raiders outfit and robbed the banks. That'd have been
throw him off.
Yeah, there you go.
The best part is, like he always says how he goes to games, so people were like genuinely worried.
Right here, Coach.
He wasn't at the Texans game, So
there you go.
They're like trying to call in. They're trying to figure out his name to
the old George Carlin right here.
Try to do a wellness check and then find out he's in jail.
Look in that booger right here, there, Coach.
So the one thing I did want to
let me roll it for you too.
Oh, great.
Oh,
so the one thing that I wanted to just lead the show off a little bit with today is on Broncos Twitter, there was some news. You guys all may remember him, running back Ronnie Hillman from the Denver Broncos, wore number 23, was a pretty big part of our kind of consistent playoff runs when Manning was here and whatnot there. Kind of ran alongside and was with CJ Anderson a fair amount in kind of that little block of time. He was diagnosed with liver cancer and is currently in hospice right now.
Former Charger as well. So man,
and he was with the Chargers. Yeah, he was with the Chargers briefly as well. So he did make his kind of way through some of the AFC West teams, at least that the two of us coach. I was on both of our teams. It's super sad to hear that kind of stuff. He is a young guy by all accounts.
That's bad.
And my understanding that is he is about to leave behind a wife and kids, and that's kind of what makes that just even more sad. So thoughts and prayers are with Ronnie Hillman and his family. Obviously, you pray for a miracle in these situations, but more realistically, you just hope that he and his family are well taken care of and that things proceed as best as they can. So just wanted to cover that off on the show. Again, with AFC West ties, it seems rather fitting to call that out here. So moving on to some happier news for the AFC West here. We all won.
First time all season?
Oh, yeah.
And now that's the first time all season. It's a lotto ticket time as a Broncos fan because let's be real, we haven't really done a whole heck of a lot this year, but we all won, and I think by and large we should all be fairly happy with how we played as well. And sorry, just very quickly, Mundungus here is 100% correct. He has liver cancer, but really what has put him over the edge is that he has fallen ill with pneumonia as well, which is often kind of what leads you kind of to the end there, sadly. I've had one of my grandparents with the same issue, not from cancer, but pneumonia is ultimately what kind of took them at the end. So with regards to this week for the AFC West, we have had some interesting games and some interesting plays. Coach, I'm going to throw over to you to talk about the Chargers and their win this week. You want to go ahead and take that away? Highlights, lowlights, and everything in between.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to give credit to Brandon Staley for the last 2 weeks. His game plans have been impeccable. Going against the opponents that he's faced. We've had a very dynamic passing team come in the Miami Dolphins. He had a great game plan based upon the personnel he's had to work with. Executed it flawlessly and defended that team very well, which is a very high-powered offense and a very high-powered run offense in the Titans as well, and had a really good game plan to limit and bottle up Derrick Henry in a lot of spaces. So shout out to Brandon Staley for stepping up and being a very good schematic, on a mastermind in the sense of getting this team to buy into the scheme that he wanted to execute, and it worked out well. So that particular effort has definitely carried us in the last 2 weeks in regards to getting righteous victories. Also, shout out to Brendan Fehoko and Mike Davis, man. I've been singing Brendan Fehoko's praises for a while. I definitely didn't understand the idea of him not being on a roster outright the whole season because I really thought that he was ascending as a player. But so they finally figured out that he's really good in the run game, so especially at nose tackle. Even Brian Baldinger featured him on his Baldy breakdowns this week to give him a shout out exactly how well he's been playing in the run game and holding the line, taking on double teams, shedding blocks, getting in the backfield and causing havoc. So yeah, shout out to him. And I want to give credit to Michael Davis as well. I've been very critical of him in the last 3 years. I think that he lacked the elite cover skills of the price tag that he garnered in the re-signing of a contract that he got. But he's been living up to the bill the last couple of weeks for sure. He's kind of had to make his way a little bit. Also has some tough matchups against Devontae Adams and a few others. But he definitely played well against Tyreek Hill and others in the last 3 to 4 weeks. And just in an isolated man coverage role, he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good. I mean, I'm still critical of his skills in its entirety, but definitely give credit where credit is due when it comes down to his ability to cover and play well in his defense in year 2 of being under Brandon Staley. But as far as the game as a whole, man, I definitely loved our defensive effort. I was very nervous because of our personnel, the amount of injuries we've taken on, and Derwin James been out the last 2 games and things of that nature. I felt like that was an issue, and I was thinking that it was definitely something we should be worried about as far as being able to stop Derrick Henry. They're really good run offense. It doesn't matter who they play. It's kind of like playing the Browns and playing the Niners. Like they're going to get yards. It's just a matter of what you can do against them. So I would say for sure that the game plan and defensively was great. Hopefully we get some guys back into the fold in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm hearing rumors that Joey Bosa's starting to ramp up. We might get Rashad Slater back at the end of the season. And Derwin should be back in practice tomorrow. So I'm hopeful for the rest of the season from a defense perspective. Now, offensively, as formidable as we were last week, it was a struggle bus this week. Now, I give credit to the Titans front seven. They have a really good front seven. But I always have issue, and I take issue with the Bills and I take issue with the Chargers as well, is that although they might be very versed passing the ball, when you have the ability to run the ball and you have success in it, they go away from it inexplicably. They go away from it. And I never understand it because that makes your offense more potent if you can effectively run the ball and make people respect it. And it opens up the play action pass game, makes linebackers cheat up, and you can get the balls in, behind them, no pun intended. But they definitely you definitely can make a lot more hay in the pass game when you have effective run game going for you. And I think despite this front seven, they were able to get that done, early on, but they just wouldn't stick with it. And I think that was part of our issue with moving the ball in the middle part of the game. So I think that it's something that we need to work on. We got the Colts coming in. Well, we're going to the Colts this Monday Monday night. So
no JT.
Yeah, no JT and Nick Foles is starting. So I think that it's one of those games where they have a good secondary. I don't know what's going on in the organization. They just can't seem to hold the lead or do things of that nature. But as most teams do against us, they seem to play well despite their woes. So I don't expect them to give us the Vikings effort. On top of the fact that we don't really have a lot of film on Nick Foles this year in that offense, so that's always a wild card when you face a backup quarterback. So I think that if we can find a way to balance it a little bit, and I think that Joe Lombardi has done a few things when it comes to the power run game. He's been pulling Zion Johnson a lot around.
Nicholas, just in time for Christmas.
Right. So when we've run a little more power in the last couple of weeks, and it's been working, especially around the goal line, pulling Zion around on a power run plays, some traps and things of that nature. He's been getting to the second level and open up holes. So I think if we do that and we start to establish that down the stretch and we make the playoffs, I think that'll bode well for us.
And your boy got arrested.
JC, yes, he did on a non-violent.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not much to talk about. I mean, he got arrested in a nonviolent incident with his child's mom. There was, like I said, there was no violence involved, and he was released the very next morning. He was having a rough go. I mean, he messed his leg up, and then he's dealing with the law. But
all I'm saying is he better get some random 4-game suspension, like 4 weeks in next year.
And why is that?
Because that's what Willie Gay got.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was coming. So I was like, let me ask him that's why he thinks that, because I feel like it had something to do with Willie Gay.
It is.
So, yeah, okay.
I'm just saying.
Well, you also got to look at it like this. Alvin Kamara didn't get any games. I think Jerry Jeudy didn't get any games either. Although he had a little bit in the tip with the law, didn't he? He never got any games.
That's not true, Edward. There is any altercation in a domestic case will ultimately it's not technically called arrested, it's called detained. In Canada and the US, it's the same as my understanding. For those of you who don't know, I am the son of a cop and my whole family's all cops, so I do actually have some experience with this kind of stuff.
We got a lawyer down there too. So
yeah. So typically what happens whenever there's an altercation between you and your significant other, that where the police are in fact called, at minimum they will detain you simply because it's basically a family dispute of sorts, and they will keep you either in the police station or ensure that you are under some form of house arrest until the charges are dropped. I realize it's different, and it is also different here.
Are dropped. Did you hear that? The charges are dropped.
No, I caught it. I was just gonna let it go. I'm like, that's That's subliminally awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm well aware that the two are different. However, practically speaking, and when you actually kind of look at the end result, they're kind of one and the same. The only difference is you don't end up with a permanent record with one, and you do with the other. But the end result of this stuff is basically the same outcome, which is the police take you away. You're often in cuffs, and you're in the back of a car. So then they release you into a holding cell, and they then release you the following morning to ensure that everything's okay. And no, not a Mountie. Believe it or not.
You're not Dudley Do-Right Jr.?
No.
Dudley Do-Right.
No, my dad was a cop here in Toronto, not a Mountie. And no, he didn't wear the funky.
Was he in that Cats documentary?
Cats?
No, thankfully.
You never seen that?
But
never seen Don't F with Cats?
But I do have a picture on my wall with my dad with an AR-15 assault rifle beside Mr. T.
Oh, nice.
So that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Well, I was like 20 years old when I realized that all Mounties weren't cops. Like I thought your police force was Mounties. Like everybody was a Mountie if you were in law enforcement until I was like 20. So that's a fun fact for you.
And Coach, just to spell another rumor for you, I do not live in an igloo.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay,
Well,
I just wanted to throw it out there. I
just thought you threw up some drywall in some pictures and you're good to go.
I'll grab that shortly, maybe next podcast.
Just tweet it. We don't got to go through all that. Just tweet it. You don't got to take it out on the wall.
Yeah, I'll deal with that, and I'll put it up.
It's a very American photo, and we need to see it.
That's fine.
I tweet some things.
As I said, all of my family is like cops and hunters, and we all like guns, so we're basically half American anyway, right?
Well, that way, yeah.
So now my uncle actually is. I do have American relatives. He was an LAPD detective. Just because you throw that in for good measure. So,
was he on OJ?
Yes. No, just kidding.
That's a quick way to get me to exit this podcast. Jesus.
Yeah. His name is Bronco. Go, Alex. You got that. What about the KC game, Alex? How are things there?
Oof. It was interesting. It was kind of almost turned out to be a trap game. Going to OT with against a 1-12 now and 1 Texans.
Squeak.
But hey, win's a win. So I'm not upset about it, but definitely not feeling good about it. I mean, as much as I came into the show talking about, the Chiefs winning the AFC West for the 7th straight time, and before Christmas, it doesn't feel that good given how they looked. But offense was still good. Scored 30 points. Mahomes had like 20 straight completions, 330 yards, no turnovers. Ran the ball. Ran the ball pretty efficiently for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. Granted, it was against the Texans, so kind of have to take that for what it is. But really, I think it's just that kind of come more to light that their defense is not as good as it is ranked on paper, at least in certain
areas, right?
Yeah,
areas.
They're doing great in pressure, but they're very much all or nothing. They need a home run play, or they're not. If they don't get pressure, then they're not going to stop anybody. So,
Yeah.
I think they're fourth in the league in sacks with like 43, but also pretty high up there on points allowed and yards allowed. As a parent, I mean, friggin' Davis Mills cooked him up a little bit. It wasn't Jeff Driscoll, so I do apologize for that.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Hey, I went down with the ship too, man. So welcome to the quartet as we're going down. But
Alex, I just want to quickly address this comment down here below from Kamani Dixon. First off, thank you for joining the show. Second, Alex and I on the MHRT network had a 3-part kind of breakdown of the Deshaun Watson situation, along with Mile High Profit. All three of us have pretty heavy ties to both the law and law enforcement. So it really made for an interesting little mini series, if you will. Go ahead and check that out on MHRT Network. You can kind of look at our breakdown. We went all the way up to, but not including the final verdict and whatnot with regards to the league. It's a pretty interesting time. We had a great little kind of block there of recording it. So we do have some experience with our other jobs in both the legal and law enforcement fields.
That is true. This is all facts. Yes.
Yeah.
But back to the AFC West champs. The Chiefs. But as I was saying, defense has kind of been exposed.
Wake when he's done with this.
No problem.
Oh man.
No problem. That's that old man snore.
Yeah, I'm no doctor, but I think that's sleep apnea. You might need to get that checked out. Somebody get him a mask. We need Darth Vader a mask.
I got a mask. What do you think? Hey, I don't sleep without my CPAP machine, you bastard. You know that.
You got it hooked up to your generator, like.
Oh man, I don't know. That sounds like sleep apnea. hey, Cap, listen, I got sleep apnea too, buddy. So I'm right there with you.
Hey, we're sleep apnea buddies. There you go, buddy.
Sleep apnea bros.
Bro, baby. And you know what? I bet you Rich is too.
Nope.
No?
He just hasn't been diagnosed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just wait.
Yeah.
So the offense is looking good. Defense, not looking good. My biggest, I guess, thing to watch is second straight game that Jerick McKinnon has looked like a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. He had eight catches, 8 targets, 70 yards and a touchdown. Second consecutive game with over 70 yards receiving. It's just added another component to them spreading the ball around, and he's at least as of recent been a consistent contributor in the passing game. So that's definitely something to kind of watch, as they are progressing to the playoffs and still vying for home field advantage right now. None of these games aren't wasteful ones, even though they've clinched, because still a chance to be at home. And
right.
That's something that as a Chiefs fan, I guess, looking ahead, that's something they're definitely going to need, because I think when you go back and look at where they were at in 2019 when they won, they're not gelling at the right time on all cylinders. I think if the Chiefs don't have Pat Mahomes, they're picking like top 5 this year. So, but back when they won it all, you could say that their defense was good. You could point to key contributors on the defense, but you can't really do that right now. So that's kind of my takeaway from the disastrous win in overtime against the Texans for the AFC West champs, the Chiefs.
So what you're saying was you're the AFC West champs, but you barely did it, which means you're going to be one and done in the playoffs and get embarrassed. Is that what you're saying?
You guys making the playoffs?
No, I never think I was either.
Are you picking where you should be picking based on your record?
No.
Okay, there we go.
But again, I never said I was either.
You did at the beginning of the year.
No.
Okay, wait a second. In his defense, I think we all picked ourselves to be the champions in the AFC West this year, which means that 3 of us are going to be wrong eventually. Okay, so just saying.
Well, yeah. You also all said the Chiefs would be last.
I did, and I will own that. I did.
So
I'm one of the. I have no problem admitting where I was dead wrong, and I never expected Andy Reid to be able to adapt to include a heavy dose of the run game because he just hasn't really done it before in his career, except for that 1 year in Philly.
That's true. No, but I guess now that I can stop with the grump, to be objective, yeah, they do not look like they're going to make a good playoff run, but they can prove people wrong, so we'll see.
Again, the only thing that you guys have going for you right now is that you do have a strong running game and you've kind of adapted accordingly. So that does bode well for really late in the season. But
and you have Pat
I don't.
Mahomes. I mean, you can't also acknowledge the best quarterback in the game right now. So,
did you just say Chiefs and running game in the same breath?
He did.
I did.
More than
Wow.
once.
Wow.
No, but that's what has separated the Chiefs this year from what they've normally done.
Yes, that's why I said I want it to be recognized for the court that those are words that usually don't go together.
I'll allow it.
Okay,
That's overruled.
Usually don't go together.
I'll allow it. I love it. That's fantastic.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
That's great. I mean,
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Oh, you called.
Oh, now we're.
I thought you were pre-med or not pre-law, pre-med, whatever. Same
Jeez,
thing.
we're all over the place now. We're in Congress. What the hell?
I know. We went all the way to the Supreme Court. What is going on?
Yeah. We veered way off course here, man.
Yeah.
So
You can't forget about the Bengals, Ed. As much as it pains me to admit that.
yeah, they're one heck of a team. They really are.
They somehow are the kryptonite of KC. So
Yeah.
And
Well,
I do want to give a shout out on the podcast here to friend of the show, Houday, the super fan.
maybe he's Robin Banks. Should check out.
I was going to say a super fan that does not rob banks. Okay.
No.
That was a joke. I'm kidding.
Although he does work out, so maybe he just rips the safe doors off. Who knows? I don't know. But no, he's a great guy, friend of the show. Come on every time we've asked him to give his take on the Bengals. And I don't know if you saw, but he much like Captain, he's very much in a similar vein to you, where they definitely pan to him once or twice a game for his team, just because he is such a kind of an icon at those games.
I had noticed that I got any camera time this year.
Speaking of that, though, Capt was on Scott Van Pelt. Did you see that?
Do you like the right side or the left side on
Van
camera?
Pelt.
You just have to turn it.
And they've gotten the backside as well. Not the blower back, but the backside top. Okay, but
Lower back's on
no,
the
honestly, and I say this with humbleness. It's nice. It is nice, but it's something that I don't just go for, oh my God, let me go see if I can get on TV. It's just that I was enjoying myself, and that's why Scott Van Pelt said that guy's happy, and then went right into the. But as a Raiders fan, he also saw how the Raiders are not good in with 10-point leads. It was a great segue.
It would have been sweet if they got like your reaction later in the game when you probably weren't as happy.
No, I trust me. I was, you know what? I was actually I was like saying, do not put a camera on me at that point.
Chandler Jones is off the milk carton now, baby.
That is. There
Yeah.
he is.
We'll pay him
That's right.
whatever million for that one touchdown. We'll take it.
Oh, the stiff arm and the touchdown. That's what you paid for.
Captain, you've addressed this before, but I think it's important to address it. I don't believe you call it a costume; it's an outfit, is it not?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the tee up, Carlos. I appreciate the compliment. I wear a uniform. A uniform. Okay. Violator has his war gear, and I wear my uniform. You might call it garb. I will accept garb, but I don't wear an effing costume. Okay. Just saying, but thanks for the positive. Thanks for the positive.
Yeah. Just remember Carlos' costume trigger word. We got him, and we're good.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump quickly, Captain. I'm going to jump quickly into the Broncos game for all of the Broncos fans that have joined us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do, though, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. It is fantastic that we get to hopefully entertain you at the very least. We even got the Jesus double thumbs up. That's fantastic.
It's cool. It's cool, Jesus.
Yeah, well, or Buddy Jesus. Or Buddy Jesus.
Buddy Jesus. There you go. Yeah, Buddy Jesus.
But anyways, I just want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. The one thing that really does help us out the most, one, if you can like and subscribe to each of our channels here where you are watching, that really does help us a great deal. After the show, so there's a couple things that really help us out on YouTube. After the show, if you want to go ahead and leave your comments and questions down below the video, that is another huge, huge thing that helps our shows grow, reach more like-minded fans such as yourselves. And if you are on Twitter, please go ahead and take these videos and share them out to your crowd on Twitter, because again, the more people that join us, the more lively the chat gets, and that really does, in fact, help our shows grow and reach a broader audience. And with that, back to my comments on the Broncos. So the Broncos actually won this past week, which is a rarity this season. So, let's do the Home Alone, cheek slap thing. But, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. Yeah. But we had some great things. If I'm going to be honest, the past 2 weeks for the Broncos have started to show what our team could have looked like throughout the majority of the season. And that's what I was hoping we would look like earlier in the season, but it is what it is, and we are where we are at now. So I actually think that there is some hope for the Broncos. I think that we've seen what our offense can look like moving forward. Russell Wilson started to open up in terms of realizing that his skill set is shifting out of the pocket, rolling out, that sort of thing, and not just trying to stand in the pocket. And I think that is going to help us moving forward. Now, what we saw this past week with Brett Rippon, who I've always loved as a backup quarterback. I think he's a perfect backup. He's intelligent. He's smart. He has a good arm. And I think we're good. So this one here, I just want to quickly address. No.
I didn't put that up there.
No, I did.
He did.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure people said that Captain didn't put that one up there. I did not put it up there.
Look, see, the one thing that everyone needs to know about me is I love being criticized. And I love having people come in with opposing opinions to challenge, either my opinions or just generally challenge the nature of the show, because I think it helps make the show better when we all have mutual respect for one another and actually have disagreements, because I think it actually just makes for a great yin and yang within the chat and also just, the show itself. So the reason why I disagree with that.
Did you say yang?
Right. Yeah. Well, I realize your owner likes a particular establishment with a similar name, but no. As we're kind of going down the line here and making these comments and kind of defending that, Hackett's not an idiot. Hackett was basically instructed, in my opinion, by the ownership to mold or meld, if you will, his offense with what Russell Wilson wanted. And I believe that two intelligent football minds have now finally come together and realized that Russell Wilson's approach to what he wanted, which I believe he was trying to turn himself into a pocket passer, which he's not, would A, didn't work, and B, was not the best thing for either Wilson or Hackett. And I would not be surprised if we continue to see the Broncos play the way they are right now if Hackett's back next year. Why? Because what we are seeing this year is a bit of trial and error between both Russell Wilson and Hackett. And I think that as you see one kind of go back and forth where Hackett took one play style and tried to mold it with another that Russell wanted to be, we're now starting to see a return back to more standard Russell Wilson play. However, playing within a Hackett system, generally speaking, with the play calling being done by Clint Kubiak. Now, what I do think you're going to start seeing, though, is I think you're going to see Outen, who is Hackett's friend from Green Bay. I do believe he will be fired, and I do believe Clint Kubiak will likely be promoted to being offensive coordinator next year because it's clear that Kubiak's play calling is superior. We've seen better results as a result of it. But I do think that Hackett will reinsert himself into the play design, and Russell Wilson will play within his style, but play more to Hackett's original play calling, simply because wide receivers were actually called open under Hackett's style of play calling, and they're not necessarily under the current Kubiak play calling style. So they're going to have to mix that a little bit more, in my opinion. That's just,
Pro Bowl roster just came out.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
No Herbie.
Yeah, number one alternate. Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes made it.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think that's what you're going to end up seeing from the Broncos next year. I do think that the new ownership group will be reluctant to fire Hackett, happy to be proven wrong, and happy to have it justified because they have a different plan in place. But I do think that Hackett has done enough, particularly at the end of the season, keeping his team looking competitive, generally speaking, I think is an important reason why you're going to see Hackett back next year. But both the Broncos and the Cards were both injured. The Broncos are, in fact, the most injured team in football. We still are the most injured team in football. And we also saw Draymond Jones, one of our best interior D linemen, land on IR as well prior to the Cards game, which all but cemented it. So it's been pretty bad. I mean, we're basically on third string offensive lineman at this point.
He did not DZ.
No, first alternate as well. Yeah, I'm looking at Popper's tweet right now. Yeah, there's a bunch of Chargers made it first alternates.
Surtain though.
Khalil Mack and Durham made it first team.
And Crosby made it.
I agree with this comment, Cammie. You're right. We are decimated at injuries, but what is really fascinating is our defense hasn't actually been the problem this year, and I think that really goes to show just how skilled and talented our D coordinator has been by moving the right pieces around to still make our defense play at, by all accounts, a top 10 level or better. And the Broncos D has really been rather impressive this season. Even national media and frankly, every other podcaster that I have spoken to from opposing teams has made the exact same comment to me this year, which is, man, your defense is playing well. And I don't disagree. Our defense is amazing this year, even though we've had injuries. And so the fact that we're playing so poorly in terms of record-wise is really showcasing just how complicated our offense is and how much more work we have to do on the offensive side of the ball. I just wanted to give a quick shout-out to James for joining us from Bolt Bros.
Bolt Bros.
Big fan of the show. Fans of our show. Always nice to see you guys jumping in here. James is
Bro!
not. That's right. James is not the one with the funky shirts. He's the other one.
There might be 3 of them now. Don't get into it. It's the 3 of them.
There is 3 of them.
Yeah.
And James does prefer to see. He doesn't wear those funky glasses either. James, nice of you to join the show. Appreciate it. We always love having the Bolt Bros in the house. And it's the Broncos. I don't believe the Broncos D was surprisingly good this year because Evero already had the same defensive scheme as Fangio, and he also had other D coordinators that he worked under that really did mesh well with the Broncos defensive player personnel. So it doesn't surprise me that our D was good. What did surprise me, though, is Evero's ability to adapt as the season went on. That shows a level of maturity that I didn't expect from a first-time DC in Evero, and he really has surprised me that way. So that's just kind of my comment there.
Rich, I actually want to speak on that real quick, if you don't mind.
Fire away.
I think that the issue that your guys have is apropos to what the Chargers issues are, right? But just on a different side of the coin, right? So you went away from a defensive-minded head coach, right, in Fangio, right, for offensive-minded guy Hackett, right?
Who I'm a fan of, just so you know.
Oh, I do know that. I'm fully aware of that. So you guys went away from a defensive guy. Now, mind you, we did speak about you guys keeping the incumbent in the house that knew the system, right? So you won't have a complete and utter revamp of the defense. So which was a smart move. I give you guys a lot of credit for that. But you would think that, by bringing in the offensive guy, that side of the ball would be the more, progressive side of the ball, in retrospect. So I would say that that's questionable to have a offensive-minded guy and the offense can't seem to get right. And I point to the Chargers issues as well. Staley is a defensive-minded guy, and we've had literally the 30 to 32nd ranked defense in the last 2 years. Yeah, you're late.
How come Coach don't have a name?
Yeah.
You be Philip Rivers' son.
Yeah.
You
So
got like 8 of them.
right, yeah, we got a village over there. But yeah, I think it's very interesting that the side of the ball that the head coaches has their claws into, and then there's their niche, right? Isn't a ability that's very prominent for both teams. And I find that interesting, and I think that people will have some questions about Staley's future if this continues. And from my perspective.
No, I understand what you're saying. What I believe the difference between, say, Staley and Hackett is that you're dealing with Russell Wilson, who would have come in with a guarantee, if you will, from both ownership and others in terms of the level and amount of control that he had in terms of what he was doing. You would not have the same kind of guarantees or commitments on the Chargers side in terms of your defensive players. The only guy that may have a similar degree of commitment is perhaps Bosa, but even then he has to kind of be on the field in order to dictate anything. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to, it's a jab, but it's not really a jab. It's just a fact. He is regularly hurt. So the challenge with Bosa is, A, he's not on the field as many snaps as, say, a guy like Wilson is, and B, because he's regularly hurt and out almost in some respects more than he's in, it really puts your team in a difficult spot to have him be seen as a true leader overall, because in order to be that leader on the field, you actually have to be on the field, and Bosa has struggled to stay on the field the last few years. So I think one of the challenges that you have with a guy like Hackett is Hackett has truly attempted to thread a needle. He's trying to take a veteran quarterback as a rookie head coach, offensive minded. And frankly, if you rewatch the All 22 tape, you will see that when Hackett was calling the plays and Hackett was scheming things, Wilson had a ton of wide receivers that were open that he just simply missed because he was unwilling to play that the way he has been the last, say, 2 or 3 weeks when Kubiak has been playing, where he has slowly and steadily gotten back to his original style of play, where he kind of rolls out to the right or rolls out to the left to allow himself to actually see down the field when plays break down. He did not do that for the first portion of the season. And I believe that was his doing, as in Russell Wilson's, and not Hackett's, because I believe Wilson is looking at the stats. I don't know if you saw on Twitter earlier today, but they gave a little breakdown of some of the more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL and what they're like this year. 4 of the top 5 are effectively all in the injured reserve or not playing particularly well right now because they're all hurt. You have Fields, who's hurt. You have Lamar Jackson, who's been on and off hurt this season. You got Trey Lance, who's gone for the season. You have a bunch of these mobile quarterbacks that are known for their mobility.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I guess the 1 week Russell Wilson did that, he got hurt and didn't play this next week. So
right.
That really sustainable model you want for your over 30 franchise guy that you just paid, $240 million to.
Right. No, I'm not saying that I want him to run the ball like Lamar Jackson does. A, Russell Wilson is not Lamar Jackson, and B, the current offensive line is not good enough to allow for a mobile quarterback to run like a Lamar Jackson or anyone else like that. What I'm saying is that Russell Wilson is also short. And that's not meant as like the short guy joke. It's a fact. He's 5'10" or 5'11", and he is not a tall dude. He's not a tall dude, right? And so when you're playing behind guys that are 6'3", 6'4", and going against D linemen that are 6'4", 6'5", and 6'6", you need to. Pardon me?
Hard to see.
Yeah, you can't see over them. And so in order for you to maximize your ability to make plays down the field, you have to be able to move, and you have to be able to move around. And Derek Carr, captain, to kind of throw over to the Raiders a little bit here, he's 6'3", I think, 6'4".
I'm not sure. He's over 6 foot.
Yeah, definitely 6
I think he's about 6'2". I think he's about 6'2".
Survey says 6'3".
There you go.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Right, so he's 6'3" or 6'4", which is right in that sweet spot range between 6'3" and about 6'5" is that sweet spot range for really talented quarterbacks. And I think that kind of proves my point, right? Is that little extra height allows you to see over some of the D linemen and O linemen, gets you a better vantage point down the field. But Russell Wilson, coach, to your point, is just a little on the short side, not super short, but shorter, and certainly like that much bigger than Kyler Murray, who's deemed like a dwarf running around on the field. And you need that extra
kid
height.
That doesn't get his iPod, just like the kid that was bitching when I got back to Tampa the other day, literally throwing a temper tantrum. I don't know all you guys that have my Facebook, but I probably avoided prison because I was this effing close to going over and just smacking the kid for throwing a temper tantrum for not having his iPod. But, I didn't do it.
Right. But so my point ultimately, coach, is that I think Russell Wilson is seeing the injuries from these mobile quarterbacks and is wanting to find a way of extending his career because he said he wants to play another 7 years.
Yeah, and it's smart. It's smart from my perspective.
I'm not saying it's stupid.
Look at he got hurt running.
Right. And look at
Hold on. Like you're trying to say that a dude at the end of the season behind third string offensive lineman got hurt. The important piece that you need to factor into this is the fact that he showed that he can still play when he plays his original style of football. Now, where the real issue is, in my opinion, for what it's worth, for all of you watching the show here, is it's now on George Payton, the GM for the Broncos, to bring in better offensive linemen and deeper offensive linemen in terms of getting better depth on the O-line to better protect your aging quarterback so that he doesn't get hurt.
But at the same time, I mean, if you if you base your passing game off of rolling out, it doesn't matter how you're going to improve your offensive line. You're taking away your offensive line. So, I mean, it's pretty much up on your QB to be able to roll out, read quick, and if it's not there, run. And that's where I'm talking about. I mean, that's how he got hurt. He rolled out and ran. And I'm saying if you put it in the longevity of doing that for 17 weeks, is that really a sustainable model with where he's at this time, in his life and career, and where Denver wants to go by the moves they made? That's all I'm saying. Because, I mean, if you improve your offensive line, if you upgraded every position, and you still do a bunch of like play action rollouts, the only person that matters is the right tackle, and what they do only matters for 2 to 3, like 2 seconds really, until your QB's out there. Because you can't, So like you're kind of,
and we're on our third string right tackle right now.
Yeah, no, I mean I get that.
Like the dude barely made the roster.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So like that's my point, right? Let's be honest, all 4 of us entered this season saying our right tackles all needed upgrades. Right? All 4. Yeah. Denver is now on the 3rd string of our right tackles after saying I already needed an upgrade at the right tackle position before I even entered the season. Like, just think of what that's going to do to any quarterback. I don't care if you're Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, or Tom Brady when he was 20 years old and could take a hit.
I would argue he can never take a hit, but go ahead, though.
But,
with Tom Brady, if he gets hit too hard, they find a way to make it illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
The rule for him getting to hit too hard, yeah.
Yeah, they call it the cleft chin rule. But with regards to like all that kind of stuff happening, it's like the Broncos already had a weak offensive line, and coming into the season, there was only like 1 or 2 dudes that were actually pretty solid, and the rest all needed upgrades. And then we had a bunch of them get hurt.
Yeah.
So the fact remains is that Patrick Mahomes Russell Wilson has finally shown that he can roll out. Patrick Mahomes does the same thing, by the way.
To some degree, when he has to.
He's down the field, realizes he can't make a throw, and he kind of scrambles around between, basically the outside of the left guard and the outside of the right guard, right? Like that's what Patrick Mahomes does. And Russell Wilson kind of needs to kind of work within that same mold. And I think that if he can do that, I think he can do well. Now, do I think he can do it for like 5 years? No. Does he need to start getting better at the pocket passing stuff? Yes. But the problem is that Russell Wilson literally tried to flip a switch in 1 year. That is idiotic. Like, that's stupid. And so what he needs to start doing is he needs to start doing what Drew Brees did over 3 to 4 years. He went from a scramble guy to a pocket guy. And he did that over a course of 3 to 4 years. Wilson can do the same thing. And I think if Wilson can start progressing himself in that way, gently over time, he can probably do it. Right now, not a hope. He's got to progressively do it bit by bit, year by year. He can't just flip a switch. He doesn't have the skill set. He's never polished those skill sets. He's got to start working on it, and he's got to start doing it now. But he can't do it now, so he's got to stick with what he was doing before. Now, Captain, I want to quickly throw over to you and talk about your last-minute runoff touchdown in your game, and I want to quickly start getting into our week ahead so we can start jumping into our three-point stance and our predictions because we're talking about games that have already happened. Let's look ahead and start getting into that quickly.
You got it. And I say I would agree with Ed Winchell, and we're actual real people here. It was a tale of two halves again, a tale of two halves, and then a minute at the end. Okay. Raiders at all in the first half, and then couldn't do anything in the second half other than punt and throw a pick six. Aside from a last-minute 2-minute drive, that Carr amazingly played like the Derek Carr that is the guy that wins all of these fourth quarter games. That has that stat for it. Here's the thing, though, is that, and I gotta know is. did Derek Carr run the 2-minute offense, or did Josh McDaniels call it? I don't know, because I was looking at what was going on in front of me. And if Carr did the 2-minute offense, then they need to friggin' let Carr do some more plays like that, because he plays better when he's under duress for the most part. All I know is, hey, Tito, again, you were late. And yes, as soon as I got on TV, Carr threw a pick six. That's not my fault that the timing on Fox is not the greatest.
He said that too in the post game. Derek Carr, he's like, I just always see this pirate out there. It distracts me, and then I throw a pick.
Well, by the way, I was on TV a couple different times when Carr was going off the sideline for halftime. You can see me if you slow the video shoot down. But anyway, I want to get something clear, that the call on the field for the Cole touchdown, Cole, aka Stonehands, because I always say, don't throw it to Stonehands. Well, he did. And Stonehands caught the ball. And it did appear that if you look at the camera angle that a lot of people don't see, because they were just seeing the top view that was shooting down, but they actually had a photographer that was shooting right towards Cole. He dragged his foot with black in between the shoe and the white. Okay. Plus, he kicked up some black specks.
His foot was on the line.
But he kicked it up after he went over the line. If you drag and go over the line, it's still a catch, shipmate. It's where you start the catch. Now, here's the thing. And they said this, and rightly so. Okay. Had they called it an incomplete pass, it would have been incomplete because it was inconclusive from all of the angles that they had. And I will also say, and you will hear about this on the NFL Nation live show after you get off of this wonderful channel, okay, because we actually have a referee that used to ref in the NFL, Walt Anderson, who is the vice president of officiating, okay, is not a Raiders fan. And he's the guy that was in New York that said they did not have sufficient video to overturn the call. So if the call on the field was a touchdown, they didn't have anything to overturn that it wasn't a touchdown. If the call on the field would have been an incomplete, I wouldn't have been bitching. I would have said, man, we missed it by that much. But the other thing is that had the Raiders not had a touchdown there, they still had about, I want to say, about 10, 15 seconds, I think. And would have been 3rd and 10. I believe it was a catch. But, again, we will see. The problem is that the bonehead play of the year, and I will just say this, the bonehead play of the year was when a Patriots team that is supposed to be well coached was throwing the I can't remember what Van calls it, the chippy woo woo or whatever the hell he was talking about it. Yeah, with the Stanford band play, and he throws a fumbleception to Chandler Jones, who ran towards me because he saw me waiting for him right to my corner of the end zone. He saw me, and he ran towards me. Okay, and the game's over.
Mac Jones.
Looked like Mac Jones was trying to catch a charge.
But I'm just saying.
Guard, he assaulted me.
He flopped.
All that's needed was the move, bitch. Get out the way. Get out the way, bitch. Get out the way. Move, bitch. I mean, that's all that needed. Okay, on that, it was a win for the Raiders, and that's all I'm saying. We caught a good call from the officials, probably the first time.
Wasn't it?
It was 34 all.
Oh, that flight back to Boston was terrible.
Oh man, listen,
man.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, that flight back to Boston for the Patriots team was terrible.
Yeah, from Vegas.
My game.
Austin, yeah.
they're throwing laterals around.
And I think that you'll probably hear from somebody tonight on the show. You know,
You got Bill Belichick on the show.
I don't want to talk about that shit.
Oh, that was Bill Belichick. Okay,
Yeah. Who they play next week? That's what you say.
We're on to the next game.
We're on to Cincinnati.
on Cincinnati.
We're on to the next game.
It's on to whoever didn't get the effing memo that we were supposed to win that game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not doing any more changes here. Next show.
But this is my thing. Throwing it back to Mac Jones was going to do exactly what? You can't throw it forward. He has to lateral it back to somebody else.
Right. I mean, that's why it was a boneheaded play. If you're going to lateral, at least lateral it to somebody.
We could flea flicker.
Somewhat close.
Right. Flea flicker.
Matt, he prefers the hoodie.
Oh, he's Emperor Palpatine. Let's get it straight now. He's definitely Emperor. He's Emperor Palpatine for our Star Wars fans out there. He's definitely that. I call him the Sith Lord of the NFL.
Well, actually, I have a question for the four of you,
Evil
three of
Bill.
you, other than me. So, how much runway has Belichick earned with his Super Bowl wins in New England? With his with all the success, how many years?
Got a while.
No, but how many losing seasons or poor seasons does he have before, ownership and everyone starts to look to move on from him?
Well,
He made the playoffs last year with Mac Jones.
He did.
Okay.
He did.
They're 7-7 right
he's
now.
500 right now. Okay.
I think there's a tie for the AFC. I think they could still somehow win it. Maybe not them, but the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills.
Yeah, mathematically, they're not eliminated from the playoffs right now.
So basically,
he's
honestly,
taken a turd, made it look shiny, so therefore he's fine.
Yeah. He's still winning.
He won what, 6 Super Bowls for him?
Yeah, 20 years of success.
And I mean, they're still making the playoffs. So I don't think I think he'd have to go they'd have to be picking in the top 3 for 2 to 3 years.
I think he retires before they let him go.
Yeah, that's what I think. He's there till he's done.
Cool. No,
and that's why McDaniels took the gig.
I don't disagree. It's one of those things where, they're winning ugly games, but they're not looking like they used to. And it's clear that what they have going on right now isn't working.
But I also feel like the Patriots, outside of what year was that? Was that 11 when they had Randy Moss and were just blowing everyone out? But I mean, I feel like the Patriots were always, that's how they were successful, was just in those gritty games, and they schemed very well for whoever they were playing to take away the explosiveness of that offense. And there's just somehow they're always in it. And it's Tom Brady with a bunch of degenerates from other teams that somehow find a way to win at the end.
Degenerates. That's one of my favorite words, by the way.
No. I mean, that was kind of always been my impression of the Patriots is they don't have the giant payroll. They're not the New York Yankees of the NFL.
No. Or the Mets nowadays. Mets got a $500 million payroll as of today. But
that Correa thing was wild.
It was.
Postpone his thing, and then it's breaking news. He's with the Mets, and I was what?
What the hell? Yeah. When you got NFL analysts retweeting that, it's a problem.
Yeah,
it's a problem. But I think that for the Patriots' perspective, because you also realize the defense is still playing well. That's Bill's side of the ball. The defense is still playing well. It's just the offense they can't seem to get right. And the curious high in the defensive guy.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah, got Patricia calling the plays.
So and that's on Belichick. He thought that his team would be automatic, and he's finding out he actually needs an offensive coordinator. Yeah. And it's definitely not Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia is probably going to be.
I agree with Matt in the chat, though. I bet Bill O'Brien comes in.
Oh yeah, that's
He always gets his guys. He always gets his past guys. So
yeah. But yet again, you're right back to the normal, status quo. If he gets O'Brien back, he might need a more competent quarterback, in my opinion. But
isn't Bill O'Brien already on the staff?
Yeah, but to be the OC, I think isn't he just like a
no. The point
Captain.
No, Joe
hold
Judge.
on.
Joe Judge.
It's Joe Judge.
Oh, okay, that's
But,
right.
yeah.
Joe Judge.
Yeah, Joe Judge.
So, Captain, I know you have to go very soon.
Yes, sir.
I want to get your take on our 3-point stand segment here for your week ahead on
Yes,
the
sir.
Raiders versus Steelers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big friend of the show. This is G Striker of SteelerNation.com. Fantastic podcast. If you are looking for any Steelers information and news, jump on over there. He is a fantastic content creator. Captain, he knows exactly who you are, by the way. Even though you guys may have never met, but he knows exactly who you are. He was super excited to know that you were the Raiders guy on our show. And with that in mind, guys, I'm going to go ahead and throw over to the 3-point stance for the Raiders versus Steelers with G Striker of Steeler Nation.
No!
Hey guys, this is Striker with SteelerNation.com. Thank you for having me on the 3-point stance. You can check out our show, obviously, from SteelerNation.com for the audio. Visuals are on our YouTube page /SteelerNation. We do an hour-long vidcast each week and a 15 to 20-minute podcast then on Fridays before game day. I'm going to be going over the top 3 things that the Steelers need to do to beat the Raiders on Saturday, on Christmas Eve, the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, the single greatest play in NFL history, only because it turned a team that has never won a playoff game since 1933 until 1972 won their first playoff game on that play, launched them to 4 more Super Bowl wins after that play occurred. So, first key I wanted to talk about for the Steelers have to win the running game. The Steelers cannot let Josh Jacobs run wild. And a big way to do that is to crowd the line of scrimmage with Larry Ogunjobi in the center. Of course, having Cam Hayward on the right side and having Leal on the left side, who is our rookie. Those 3 working in tandem have done an excellent job of shutting down Carolina last week, holding them to 21 total yards. We need to have another Herculean effort out of that running game while also winning on our side, which has been improved. We've been over 100 yards rushing in every game except one since our bye. So that is great to see. The 2 running back tandem of last year's Pro Bowler Najee Harris, this year's undrafted rookie free agent in Warren, both be excellent in the running game, both scoring touchdowns last week. My play number 2 for the 3-point stance, get after Carr. TJ Watt is finally back to his pre-injury form. He was battling a rib injury up until this past week. Looking at him last game, he was explosive and disruptive. Having him paired with finally developed Alex Highsmith, his bookend partner on the other side, who is in double digits in the sack column without TJ Watt this year. You can't say he's good because he's on TJ Watt's coattails, because it's doing it all himself. Those guys going off, having Highsmith one-on-one, as well as Hayward coming in one-on-one on those lines, make it very difficult to stop the pass rush from getting home on Carr. Number 3, and what I think is the biggest point of the 3-point stance, is no turnovers. The Steelers are 5-0 this season when they do not turn the ball over. They are 1-8 when they do. So turnovers are the biggest key to this game, and with a young offensive play caller, which it looks like Kenny Pickett is going to be back in there running this team coming off of his concussion protocol, missing the game last week. He has done nothing but increase the ability of the Steelers to maintain possession since the bye. He has not turned the ball over, which is a big change from his 7 interceptions before the bye. Excellent development out of this young quarterback, but hopefully he can rely on that strong running game, eat the clock, and find another way to beat the Raiders on the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. And thank you, as always, Rich and company, for having me on.
I just want to thank SteelerNationLive.com again. That was G Striker. You can check them out online. Captain, I know he struck a nerve with one of the early comments there in that particular segment. I did forewarn you. Yeah. So I did try via Twitter. I'm not sure if you saw my tweet out from our podcast account, but I did try to, project a little bit in the way that was worded. I did call you out to say, "Oh, I'm sure Captain's going to have lots to say about this one," and that was
have him get a hold of me. He seems like a cool guy, and
he's a great dude. He's a great dude, Captain. He has been a friend of MHRT Network since we basically started all of these Broncos kind of like roundtable and bringing in other guests and whatnot. I actually think you guys would actually get along really well. But of course,
we would.
Yeah,
we would.
yeah, and he's
for one thing.
Just need a meet cute.
Yeah, just like a movie meet cute.
You see a little meet cute, and then your friendship will.
So, anyways, Captain, throw it over to you. Let's hear what you got to say, and let's go from there.
Other than it is Steelers country. You go back to the 70s when he had the big banner with the steel curtain, and you are entering Steelers country. I got to remind him of that. I actually, like I said, tell him to get a hold of me. I agree with everything that he said. I mean, I can only add on that if their right tackle is getting away with holding like whoever's playing against Max Crosby has been the entire time this year, like the right tackle for the Patriots was holding Crosby when Jacoby Myers had that 47-yard reception that gave them the ball where the running back had the touchdown shortly thereafter. Carlos, I won't say what I use a terrible towel for because it's grosser than that. Anyway, I will say that, yes, the running game is going to be important. They got Najee Harris and whoever else is back there out versus Jacobs. This is the first week that Josh Jacobs was not on the injury report. The very first week that in weeks he hasn't been on the injury report. But it's going to be a battle of who can run the friggin' ball. It's going to be, I believe they said 4 or 5 degrees below zero wind chill. 4 or 5 degrees, which is one of the main reasons why my happy ass is going to be watching the TV in Florida. Okay, I had a front row ticket that was going to be given to me, and I'm like, no way. I'm also going to let you know that obviously the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Deception.
The guy just passed away today, man.
Yeah. You know what? I'm getting to that, you schmuck. Shut the F up so I can at least get some props. Okay. And again,
proceed all out.
Rest in peace to Franco Harris, who didn't get a chance to see this, but I said it weeks ago. A 50th anniversary game on the Immaculate Deception on a night game where they were retiring Franco Harris's jersey at halftime, which they still will, but now the man passed? Are you kidding me? The Steelers, or let me say it correctly. The Stillers, because that's how they pronounce it in that portion of Pennsylvania, the Stillers will get every friggin' call in the book on this TV game. They will get every call. If the Raiders have a chance, it's going to be because Derek Carr miraculously learns how to throw a football in below freezing temperatures. His record in below freezing temperatures sucks. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but
Carr's a California kid, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, his record below freezing is pitiful. Pitiful.
So, Captain, just so you're aware, I'm available.
Okay.
I can throw a football a country mile in freezing cold. And
okay, I'm gonna actually say that, and I will give credit to Sharif Khan, aka Bananos, who said this. It would be amazing if Derek Carr actually has a freak injury, because Jarrett Stidham at least knows how to throw the ball in cold weather.
He does. Yep.
He does. Okay. And there's also somebody on the field that can actually catch the ball in extremely cold weather, and that's Davante Adams. It's going to
catch
be
the ball very well in extreme cold weather.
It will be a very tight game. I can't tell you who's going to win because it's going to be nip and tuck, but I'm going to say that it's going to be tight. The Steelers will get all of the calls. The Steelers team is going to be very emotionally charged for this game. Enjoy it, watch it. I'm not going to be there, so I'll be watching it with you. I can't give a score because again, it's just going to be tight.
I agree. I actually think this is going to be an interesting game between the Steelers and the Raiders. The NFC North in the Steelers, like the Ravens, the Bengals, they are built to play in this like really kind of cold, gritty kind of style game, and it actually flies a lot in the face of how the AFC West is really built, typically speaking, just because it's cold, but we're typically relatively tempered in terms of climate, overall in terms of, I mean, whether you're talking Oakland or Las Vegas, they're both warmer kind of climates, generally speaking. Los Angeles, again, warmer climates. KC gets cool.
Warmer climate.
It gets cool, but it doesn't get like
cold.
Pittsburgh
Oh,
cold.
it gets cold.
It gets cold in KC.
It gets cold in KC.
You're freaking wrong. It gets downright blasted cold in KC. I can attest to that.
Minus 7-degree wind chill for the game on Sunday.
All
Saturday,
right.
excuse me, Saturday, yeah.
So I guess I'd wear a coat.
In shorts. In shorts.
Yes. It's like,
thing, though,
okay.
You might wear a windbreaker, Rich. You might wear a windbreaker, but
That's
the rest of us.
That's if you're not playing. You stand on the sideline, wear a windbreaker. If not,
you're playing. You don't even know it's cold.
If I'm playing, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
But
there you go.
I'm curious as how many other teams do this. But like Arrowhead, the grass underneath the grass, they have like pipes and they heat the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure almost every other stadium's got some setup like that too. But
artificial grass or something like that, or even some certain cases turf. Yeah.
That was I went to Chiefs Titans game. I think it was like the second coldest game in Arrowhead history, and I don't even remember how cold it was, but it was just because of how much they had the heaters going. There's just like this constant steam coming off the field.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I played in some cold.
You guys
games.
heat your field?
I mean, Arrowhead does. Yeah, they
does too.
Grass itself, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Green Bay does. I think Buffalo is
Buffalo
going that way with the
stadium. Buffalo had 6 feet of snow, and you wouldn't have known by watching the game because it was nowhere around. It's got to be. They got to have something.
Yeah, but they plow it and they heat it, so you can see the whole entire field like it was no snow at all.
That's ridiculous. Honestly, football for me in the snow was like the best thing ever.
To be honest, though, that if it gets completely hard, if you ever planted hard on completely ice over grass, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It was. I played in the Blizzard game, and it was fun, but it was also not fun.
Getting hit. I know Coach actually all you all can attest to this. Getting hit in the cold weather is like somebody like swinging a concrete brick at you, or actually not a concrete, but one of those cinder blocks that you use for your house, okay, and hitting you with it, okay, it takes all that. That's why you see all the big oofs on NFL films on this. It is different getting hit when it's cold. So
I know.
that's
I grew
why
up in that my entire life.
If anybody has a passing game, if anybody has a passing game that's above average, and I think Carr will be able to do that maybe more than Pickett, only in the fact that Carr is a vet and Pickett is a rookie. But I'm still going to say Carr's got to get his shite together, and it's going to be a tight game. I'm not picking a winner, Rich. I'm just saying it's going to be enjoyable to watch.
Like I said, I am available to any AFC West team that actually wants someone that enjoys playing in the cold weather.
I think we established the Germaniac. We can stamp that as gospel. The Germaniac. We get it. We understand.
And I just really don't understand. Hitting people in the cold is a lot of fun. Getting hit in the cold is hilarious. I love playing in snow. And honestly, if you're saying minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit's cold, you need to freaking come further north and just suck it up. And we'll leave it at that. So it's and that's minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way, because I'm actually doing the conversion to help all the Americans that are joining us on the show here today.
There you go, man.
Yeah, look, I don't deny that, my man. I don't deny that.
Maniac.
I mean, I played more than one rugby game in the snow with no pads at full tilt, hitting people at full speed. It's honestly, it was my favorite game. Where I played in the snow, it's fantastic. I love playing in cold. The great thing about playing in cold is that when you cut yourself, your blood freezes when you gash yourself, and it allows you to play because the refs won't call it if you're not bleeding out on the field. So there is some benefits to playing in really cold weather. I mean, I solved that problem anyways by carrying a lighter and a knife. And I just cauterized any open wounds because that allowed me to keep playing. Like I said, I come from a different breed.
We're not the same, you and I.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So, yeah, like on the rugby pitch, you basically had a rule, which was if you have an open wound, you can't play. So the solution for all of my teammates was you cauterize the wound. And we do that on the sideline.
The case for me giving you a new nickname, you're not helping at all. That's not furthering my point. Is what we're getting at here. You're a certified maniac. Like you need a bumper sticker.
So, Captain, that was honestly, I do really believe that the Steelers-Raiders game is going to be one of the highlights of the weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of yin and yang happening in terms of they have a different style of play, but I think you complement against their style of play. And I think it's going to be super, super interesting to see where the game lands. And it's going to be one of my go-to games to watch this weekend. I really hope that it doesn't let me down, but honestly, it's going to be fantastic. I think you have to go to NFL Nation Live right now, if I'm not mistaken, at 9 p.m.
Got it.
Everyone, if we can say thank you for Captain for joining us.
Appreciate you.
To all the Gargler fans out there who are here for watching the show, thank you for the Gargler fans and Coach up there. Got to get it in, Coach. The Donkey fans as well as the Ketchup and Mustard Barbecue crew. Love everybody here. Thanks again. And hey, I would here's something and it's kind of personal. I'm supposed to get my brand new truck on the 24th. Okay, I'm supposed to get my truck. Please pray that the gods will deliver my truck, which is 4 months late.
Is it gonna be delivered with a bow like in the commercials?
Yeah,
They have the
the
big
guy
bow
told me
wrapped
if
on
it gets to the dealership, it's going to have a nice bow on it. So it's like, dude, just bring me my friggin' truck, okay?
Is it going to be
It's
dressed in the model
wonderful.
of a
Ram
This
sheepdog?
Cybertruck?
2500. It's my present.
Is it going to be
It's
dressed in
what?
the model of a sheepdog?
What?
The shaggin' wagon.
The shaggin' wagon. Thank you. I knew you get it, Alex. The
I
shaggin'
had
Oh,
that. I had
okay. Now I got it. Now, okay.
I'm up in there, man.
That's it.
You're
Shaggin' wagon.
you're done.
What'd you get? Ford
Ram
Raptor?
DZ, Ram 2500. Okay.
Can't dodge
Everybody
it.
hit the
Ram it,
like
baby.
button. All of the things here. Come out, NFL Nation Live on my channel. We'll see you. Have a great week. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a upfront Happy New Year from the old bastard Captain Jack to you. There you go.
Thank you, bud.
That Ridgeline comment got me good. I was gonna say Hyundai Santa Cruz, but
Not they Santa Cruz.
it's got a truck bed.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna delve right into the Chargers now. Coach, we're gonna fly over to you and talk about the Chargers versus the Colts. We did have a 3-point stance lined up for you. However, our Colts guy had to run off because there's some additional news that came out of the Colts.
Yeah, he heard Nick Foles was starting, so he decided to duck me. I understand.
Well, I think there was some other stuff too. There was some other new news that came up with the Colts and some other stuff, and sadly they had to duck out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure there's some Saint Nick jokes in there somewhere.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you can delve into the Colts versus Chargers game, Coach, I think it's going to be an interesting one. But I do, as much as it pains me to say it, I do think the Chargers have this one.
Well, the thing is about the whole game in its entirety. Don't get complacent because their offense has been struggling, especially with Matt Ryan being quarterback now. We don't know. The wild card is Nick Foles, like I alluded to earlier in the show. So we don't know exactly what to expect from him in this offense. So that's always a caveat that you have to prepare for or not prepare for that matter. But I would say that those two things you gotta be concerned about exactly how they're going to operate under Nick Foles being quarterback versus Matt Ryan. So that's one thing. The second thing is that they have. I was talking to DZ earlier. It's a Jekyll and Hyde thing with the Colts. Like they play good one half, like a dominant top 5 defense, and then the second half they completely play like they forgot how to play Pee Wee League football. I don't understand. So you don't know exactly what you're going to get from the Colts. You might get a terrible first half, good second half, or vice versa. You just don't know exactly what you're going to get. So I would say for sure that you have to be prepared for anything. The good news is because most of these games going to be played this weekend are going to be cold. We're going to be in a dome, so we don't have to worry about the elements in this situation. Now it'll be cold in Indy, but we'll be inside in the what is it's not the RCA Dome anymore. What is it? I keep forgetting that is whatever the Colts Stadium is. I forget. I totally spaced on what it was, but yeah, it's thankfully it's inside, so we don't have to worry about the elements in that situation because it's getting very cold out here on the East Coast. So I would say that we definitely need to stay above board and stay ahead of the chains offensively, mix and match like I've been praying that they would do all year and figure out a way to run the ball to set up the pass. Pretty healthy receiver at this moment. No vital injuries on the offensive side from a weapons perspective. So that's a plus. So just getting Austin in space and getting Keenan and Mike the ball in their timely moments will definitely help us. Lucas Oil, thank you, DZ. Lucas Oil Stadium, appreciate you. So yeah, Lucas Oil. So yeah, just for offensively, just making sure we stay on schedule and don't get behind the chains. Allow for that D lines to go to work. DeForest Buckner and those guys, Yannick Ngakoue and company can get after the quarterback if you let them. So I would definitely say that staying on schedule, running in between the tackles, get that power game running game going again with Eckler and Josh Kelly. I do like what we've been getting out of Josh Kelly since he's back off knee injury, so he's been playing well. So those things, we do those things. I agree with you, Rich. We should have it in the bag, but again, that's why you play the game, and it's one of those games that could be a serious trap game for us because we're in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs. So don't act like it's sweet and think we're going to just walk right in because we have a light schedule. But so we have
the
to,
Chiefs.
It did, and I was with Matt Ryan. So God knows what Freaky Nick is going to do. Yeah. So we got to worry about that.
Although Khalil Mack should have a pretty. I mean, should have a pretty good day in the backfield.
It's shaky, but
regardless of them having Quentin Nelson, they're not good. I mean, I felt bad for Matt Ryan. Sometimes you watch games and he's just getting smacked.
Yeah, right.
Anything even happens.
Yeah. So I mean, we have to get after the quarterback, from our perspective. And what they've been doing a lot of times, they've been doubling and chipping Khalil and allow other people to get home, like your Calvin Noyes and your Chris Rump's been getting, and Morgan Fox has been getting home. So if that continues, I think we have a pretty decent game. But no Jonathan Taylor helps. That's definitely a plus. And the all line as a whole has been struggling. So if that's status quo, then I agree that we should win. So we just got to take care of business.
I need Michael Pittman to have like 100 yards and a touchdown.
No, we're not doing that.
I need that.
I can't help you. I can't help you there.
Well, Colts can with St. Nick.
Well, we need Indy or Chicago Nick Foles. We don't need Philly Nick Foles. That's what Nick Foles we need. Yeah, we don't need that guy.
I need the Nick Foles that threw 7 touchdowns in one game. That's
I don't need that guy.
I need them all to go to Michael Pittman. And then I need him to do that for one more week.
Right after that.
And then they can kick rocks.
Do whatever they want to do. You'll care after that. I get it. But yeah. Overall, man, I think it's the game we should have. We should win. But again, you got to play the game. And don't get complacent. I think that's the biggest word. The word of the week for Brandon Staley should be complacency. Do not get complacent because of where we stand at the moment, because it can change week to week. It's not set in stone yet. We got to win 3 more games.
Well, I mean, the Raiders are definitely right. Like they're kind of sneaky right now in terms of the way that they're playing. They started off kind of slow and then they've kind of bounced right back. And so you got to be careful in terms of what the Raiders are coming up in both the division and just generally in the playoff race. I mean, they need a few things to happen in order for everything to work out.
The Patriots and the Jets. The Patriots and the Jets are not mathematically eliminated right now. So
no,
follow your face. Then
the Steelers and Browns.
They're hanging on. They're hanging on. So
Meanwhile, the leader of the NFC South 6-8.
How about that? I honestly truly want to see the Jags make the playoffs over the Titans. At this point,
I think they will, man. I mean, beating the Cowboys, Trevor Lawrence is balling right now.
Balling. Him and Zay Jones got some type of connection going on there. We didn't foresee. That's for sure.
Oh, I knew that was going to happen.
Zay Jones has always been a decent receiver. He's never been elite, but he's been decent. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, like, it's just it comes down to like play styles, right? So if Lawrence and Zay Jones just kind of get on the similar wavelength, then that's all that's needed for a wide receiver quarterback duo to just really take off, right? So
Jaguars are going to be pretty. They're going to be around for a while.
They're young. They're young. They're hungry.
They got Calvin Ridley too for next year.
They did. You're right. I forgot about that.
I mean, and if they got some high picks.
I do want to shout out to 2 friends of the show here on, especially on MHRT Network. We got Tyler Derby, who is effectively the Captain Jack for the Jags. He is one NFL Fan of the Year. He's been all over Twitter. You can see him no matter where you go. He really has showcased his fandom for the Jags. And we also have JK3 from Down by the Bank podcast, who's been on the show. I just want to thank him for jumping on to give us his insight for the Jaguars over the course of the season. And also give a quick shout out and subscribe to that particular channel. They've been fantastic for us, and they've always been here when we've needed them to give us the insight on the Jaguars. But I mean, man, the Jags, I've actually had some in-depth conversations with both of those guys, as well as some other Jags podcasters and whatnot. I truly think the Jags are very much on this upward trajectory.
They're
and
right time.
I'll give you one better than that. The Lions. The Lions are dangerous right now.
Yeah,
I agree, but that's because of Dan Campbell. He is ridiculous as a head coach.
He's a motivator. He's definitely
He's ridiculous as a head coach.
Yeah, he's a
they're
motivator.
about to be probably late teens draft 20s draft pick, but they're gonna have the Rams. That's like 4. And then it's like what now. And it's like, what are they gonna do if they make it that far? Like, are they gonna stick with Goff? Are they gonna there's a lot of
there's a lot of variables here.
Like,
There's a lot of
with
variables.
the Jags, they're not moving off of Lawrence unless Lawrence loses that job himself. But like Goff, I feel like he's got a lot of money tied to him. So it's going to be interesting to see where that plays out.
Well, they could do both because I'm going to check right now to see what Jared Goff's contract is, much longer he has. But how long? If he got 2 more years, hypothetically, they can bring the rookie and let him sit for 2 years and then let him start.
What I would do.
Yeah, I would do too. But actually,
but at the same time, is his what?
He's got 2 years left. I'm sorry, 2 years after this year. He's got 2 years left after this year. Yeah, so that makes sense. So you bring in, say, Bryce Young, and then you give him 2 years to sit behind Goff, and then he starts after the 2 years is up. Yeah.
Hefe. My boy Hefe.
he made it in after Cap left. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've noticed he gets in later and later. I think he's just avoiding old Cap. Or Cap's avoiding him.
One of the two.
But yeah, crazy playoff run coming.
It's super interesting kind of where things are going. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into the Broncos-Rams matchup now, and we're going to throw over to the Rams Up podcast, and we'd like to thank Mark for all of his insight into the Rams and our division rivals that are happening now this year with the Rams versus the AFC West. Ladies and gentlemen, Rams Up podcast. Let's see how the Rams stack up against my Denver Broncos.
Hey everybody, Mark from Rams Up, your LA Rams podcast, back to share some insight with you on my Los Angeles Rams. You can find our podcast. We're part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. Just look for Rams Up. And we also have a YouTube channel. Our handle is at LA Rams Up. So kind of a broken record here about what the Rams need to do to win football games at this point. This team is a shell of its former self at this point with all the injuries, especially along the offensive line. And going to sound kind of cliche here, but the Rams need to figure out a way to run the ball. That would be number one. They showed some progress in the last 2 games. Cam Akers starting to get it going. Like to see more of the rookie running back Kyren Williams. But we're probably going to be starting 2 original starters along the offensive line. Rob Havenstein at right tackle. Coleman Shelton will not be at right guard. He'll be at center. Brian Allen will be back. So we're still at 14 offensive linemen on the year, and Shelton and Havenstein, the only original starters. So can we get the ball moving on the ground against a pretty good Bronco defense? I don't know, but we have to find a way, mainly because we can't get behind the chains with this offensive line and expect them to move the ball through the air, picking up 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 9s. So number 1 would have some success on the ground on the early downs, and number 2, expecting them to struggle in that regard is they need to find a way to protect Baker Mayfield. Again, it falls on the offensive line to play a little bit better. If they can't get it done on the early downs in the run game, they got to find a way to protect Mayfield, keep him moving out of the pocket, be creative, move the pocket, do something to give him time to find these receivers downfield. So that would be the 2 things. All comes down to the offensive line. They've performed poorly all year long, and again, it's mostly due to all the injuries. The 3rd thing they have to do, our defense has been pretty solid. We've been playing this bend, don't break style of defense, and for the most part, it's worked. The problem is the offense has been so pathetic that we're just asking too much of our defense. But the one thing, if we have a chink in our armor on defense the last couple of games, is the run defense, and we're getting banged up there as well. Greg Gaines holding down the fort. He's played really well. Aaron Donald has been out. He might be back. Not sure about that yet. Another guy that's performed well, Marquise Copeland, he's been out. So we're relying on some new names. Jonah Williams is one guy that's been up there playing pretty well. Bobby Brown, a second-year guy. He's finally getting some snaps. But that run defense is a little shaky right now, and that's my only concern with the defense is, can we hold up against the run like we have in the past up until the last couple of games. So those would be my three things. Run the ball on early downs, protect the quarterback when we don't run the ball well on first down and second down, and third, we got to play better in that run defense. And a couple of notes I'll share with you on this game. Well, one note especially, the Rams have played really well against Russell Williams over the years. Williams is 8-12 against the Rams when he was with the Seahawks. Rams really had his number. Will that continue? Well, he's on a different team now, different offense, so who knows? But if there's a kryptonite to Russell Wilson, it is that Ram defense. So hopefully that continues as well. So that's all I got. We'll see how it goes. Rams come into this game really banged up still, but I think it's a pretty good matchup. Should be a fun, extremely low-scoring game would be my prediction.
Is Russell Williams Mr. Unlimited?
He is. I noticed. Yeah, I look.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I would be checked out too if I was a Rams fan right now.
Look, everyone slips up from time to time. You know what I mean?
I know.
So,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, let's be honest. Wilson hasn't really played like Russell Wilson, so it's understandable you might forget his actual last
He's
name.
Mr. Limited.
Yeah, but you know, in terms of the Rams Broncos game, I do think it'll be interesting. I do think you're going to have you know, the standard ebbs and flows, and I think you're going to have some pretty close back and forth. Yeah. No, I do think what you're going to likely end up with in this game, and what's for me, I have a couple things that I think it'll be pretty interesting here. Is the Rams defense has been a shell of its former self. It really has been good, but not great, and they've struggled mightily in a lot of games just because I think that they're lacking a little bit of depth, and I think that they need to kind of rebuild. I think this is going to be the year they're going to do it, but they have to kind of go through the down year to then get the picks back to make up the difference. So
like 30.
Yeah. So, you know, it's hard when you're picking it like 30, 31, 32 to, you know, to do anything, you know what I mean?
And I don't think the Rams have a first round pick till 2025. Because the Lions have their pick now, right? Yeah. Well, maybe they do have their. I feel like they traded one.
I think 2024. I think this year is the last year they're going to have their first round picks going to be given up. I think that 2024 they'll have something.
Yeah, I mean it's wild though. This like they definitely. I think they have the worst Super Bowl title run, you know, of any reigning champ. Because I feel like. When's the last time a team won the Super Bowl and didn't even make the playoffs?
A lot. The Super Bowl hangover is a real thing.
A lot.
The Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. I was surprised the Bengals didn't fall privy to it because they looked shaky at the beginning of the season.
True.
I think
this game's kind of like that.
The Bengals are almost the exception to the rule, Alex.
They are.
To the rule itself.
They are.
Well, I mean, but not make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, no, it's a thing.
More common than not.
It's a growing stat. It's a growing stat. They bring it up every year, beginning of the season, when they talk about predictions. That most teams that go to the Super Bowl, both teams, winner and loser, don't make the playoffs the next year.
The issue that you end up having is, your best players are often at what happens is a good portion of your players when you win the Super Bowl for whatever reason are on the last years of their contract, and
they go chase the money after they get their ring,
and they get the ring and they get the money because they're seen as the reason. Not, you know, they're seen as the reason why they won the Super Bowl. And I mean, the Broncos are really one of the better examples of that where their roster was gutted at the end of that Super Bowl run. And
most of them are.
yeah, and no, but the Broncos really had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of all go away, and they had additional Super Bowl roster contributors that were critical leave the next year after. So 2015 we won. 2016 we basically came into the season with a massive amount of our talent gone, and then by 2017 we had lost the majority of the key studs on our team that really made the Super Bowl roster tick. And the Rams are really a great example.
I mean, there's really not that many teams that won the Super Bowl and then didn't make the playoffs the next year.
But based on what era?
I mean, I'm looking as far back as 1990.
Well, I guess making the playoffs and being one and done is a different story.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like in this fashion, to be what are the Rams right now? 4-10, so out of playoffs before Christmas. Like,
Right.
The Broncos had a very similar situation, and frankly, I don't think it's unheard of to be put in that situation in today's day and age, because a lot of these teams are built through one of two ways, right?
Yeah.
You have a draft heavy team that drafts really well. And those are teams that if they draft well and hit on all those draft picks can be sustainable.
For a small window.
But then you have teams like the Rams who basically bought their way into the playoffs through draft picks and trades.
Yeah. Well, and that's clearly how the Rams, they F them picks, right?
Exactly.
But they clearly thought they were going to have like a 3 to 4 year window to win 1 to 2, and it just blew up after 1.
Right. So the thing is that when you look at the Rams, they bought their way into the playoffs. The Broncos had some key free agents, but they didn't make up the vast majority of their cap space. The problem is that the Broncos had a drafting problem. Elway couldn't draft players to backfill the roster.
Yeah. Kept trying to find the next Peyton Manning.
Yeah, he kept on saying, like, I know, go taller at quarterback. Let's get
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, Paxton Lynch, baby, 6'9". It's like, no. And
who else did he take?
Oh, he took a bunch of crap.
Lynch, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he took Paxton Lynch, and then he drafted a bunch of guys in the second and the third round that just didn't pan out, right? So, at the end of the day, if you don't draft well in the first round, second round, or third round, your team's going to fail pretty quickly after 2 or 3 years in a row. Elway failed miserably in first, second, and third round picks for like 2, 3, 4 years in a row. And your team can't – DZ, Simeon was a 7th round draft pick. The fact that he became an NFL starter, let's just be real, is actually a testament to the scouting department of the Denver Broncos.
From Northwestern too.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is that the fact
that Simeon Northwestern was not good at that.
They don't throw the ball. They don't throw the ball. They run. They're running.
Yeah, Osweiler. Forgot about Osweiler.
Osweiler, yes. He was a 6'9".
Dude, how much did he get paid to get off of the Texans roster?
Like $40 million.
Crazy like
that. $40 million. Yeah.
I would love to get paid $40 million to not show up for work.
Yeah, to go home.
There's like I think it was PFT. They had Blake Bortles on. They're like, "Do you know how much money you made?" And he's like, "No." And they're like, $79.5 million. He like laughs and he's like, "That's pretty sweet." Like to not do anything.
Nothing.
But yeah, that is what, and that's kind of been I guess an evolving concern on like Chiefs Twitter too about Brett Veach. And like people say, he inherited, like he didn't draft Mahomes. That was the GM before him. He inherited Mahomes, and he hasn't necessarily hit on any of his early picks. I think he's had one first rounder. I know he took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so that was his first round pick.
Oh, no.
Because the year after they won the Super Bowl, they only had a second, or no, the year before that they had a second rounder and took Breland Speaks, who
Speaks.
Yeah,
Wow.
you don't even know who that is. So,
I do know what that is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's not around.
No, he's not.
And
He's
then
not.
took Clyde. So he hasn't really hit on his moves. It's just been he kind of inherited a good roster.
I mean,
so
the McDuffie and the Karlaftis picks were good, I think.
We'll see, but then he mortgaged to get Orlando Brown Jr., who
he did.
Even though he made the Pro Bowl somehow.
Did he?
Yeah, but Pro Bowl, especially for offensive line, it's like a popularity contest. Whatever, if you're on a good team and they talk about you once in the broadcast, you're going to be leading and voting. Like Orlando Brown Jr. has absolutely no business being a starter on the Pro Bowl roster.
Yeah, that's the Rashawn Slater effect. If Rashawn Slater is healthy, he doesn't make the Pro Bowl.
No, that's exactly it. But to kind of get into the Rams Broncos game a little bit deeper, I think the one thing that's going to be a huge impact in this game is the Broncos run game. We have really shown out the last 2-3 weeks in terms of running the ball. We've gotten back to what I was calling for, if you guys remember at the beginning of the year, to say run the damn ball. And that's what I was saying from the get-go is Broncos have a unique advantage in Mile High Stadium with the altitude. And it is really a huge taxation on the human body for not practicing in that because of the thin air. And the Broncos are not utilizing the grind that the thin air has on the body, which it truly does. And the Broncos have really started to show out a little bit more in the run game. Latavius Murray last game had 130 yards and a touchdown in running the ball. He really has shown that he still has it, which is wonderful. I have been pushing
Marlon Mack.
No, but Marlon Mack is the complimentary back right now, right? Where he catches and runs the ball, which adds the extra dynamic to the Broncos run game. And it allows Latavius Murray to come in for those large kind of bruising style downs where he's able to break away for, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards plus per run. So I actually think Mack and Murray are a great tandem because they complement each other. They don't hinder each other. And if you put them on the field at the same time, the question becomes, are they going to pound the ball down our throats with Murray, or are they going to, get a little cuter and get Marlon Mack going?
Or do both.
No, but when you have both on the field, you don't know which one's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I agree that I think that's the biggest factor for Denver because I was curious when you brought that up to see, because Rams guy mentioned that running the ball too, but they've yet to have a 100-yard rusher. So Cam Akers had 65 yards last week, and that was the most any player's ever had for him running the ball this year. To me, if Denver can sustainably run and chew clock and put points on the board, whether it be field goals, I don't see Baker Mayfield with the people he has being able to do anything to make it a game. But it is kind of a battle of the defenses. To me, it's like that Spider-Man meme with they're all pointing at each other.
Right.
You both have decent defenses. Granted, Denver's is in my opinion, and probably any fan's opinion, leaps and bounds better than the Rams. But the Rams still do have a pretty respectable and expensive defense. And then you have two kind of lower tier offenses. But I again would put the Rams at probably a lower point based on who they got running the show and injury wise. So to me, it's just going to come down to which one of those offenses that's a really John Madden-esque answer, right? But which one of those offenses could put more points on the board, right? But because I just see Denver, giving them a really hard time to really do anything successful and moving the ball and getting in the red zone. So it's going to be up to Denver's offense to not to not put the defense in bad spots and have turnovers in unfortunate positions of the field.
See, I actually think that this game is going to be interesting for me because it's a question, from my perspective at least, in terms of which Denver offense shows up. So if we have the Denver offense of the last 3 weeks show up, I actually think the Broncos can really take over this game. The Rams have struggled mightily, even with Aaron Donald in at stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
And with let's add on to that, and against a reasonable run defense in the Cardinals, they're not great, but they're not awful. The Broncos had a running back go for 130 yards, which shows that we have found a formula of running the ball. The Rams have been awful.
I'm looking at all their box scores. It's like 150 plus in rushing yards.
So you gotta look at that and say, unless like a rabbit gets pulled out of the hat, the Rams are going to struggle to stop the run, and that's been the Broncos' strong suit. So then the question becomes, when you look at Sutton and some of our other wide receiver threats that have, Jerry Jeudy, for example, has really started to polish himself and actually step into his own this year. The Rams are going to be in a position where they're going to, in my opinion, struggle.
Is Sutton playing?
Pardon me?
Is Sutton going to be playing?
Who's Seth?
Sutton.
Oh, it's possible. But
who's Seth? I'm Seth.
Yeah. So I thought you said Seth Williams. He's like, he's not on the team anymore. But in my opinion, I think Jeudy and you have two, like Virgil, you have Jalen Virgil, you have a couple other guys on the roster that are speedsters. I think the Rams are going to struggle with that combination because I think ultimately we're going to go stretch the field deep to force the corners and safeties back. And then they'll force the run game or allow the run game to really showcase itself. And then the Rams will have to sell out on the run. And then you run the risk of those wide receivers just blowing past safeties.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was asking if Sutton plays too, because, I mean, in my opinion, they really only have Jalen Ramsey, and he's not Jalen Ramsey right now. So it's like, to me, if they have Jeudy playing at the level he's been playing, these past 3-4 weeks, and you get a healthy Sutton back, I mean, that's going to be a pretty good recipe for success in terms of passing because someone's surely going to be open. I mean,
yeah,
they don't have the talent to double team people or do any of the stuff that teams would do to take away some deeper passing attacks. And I think if you got both of those guys out there, then I'd imagine they would probably put Ramsey on Sutton. And then it's kind of opens the door for Jeudy to do what he's been doing. So that's kind of,
2 weeks, Judy's been on fire.
Oh, yeah. Ever since he got pissed right before half of the Chiefs game and threw his helmet down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually think that that's going to be a recipe for success going forward. I think you're going to start seeing a different team on the field. I also think that Russell Wilson has finally realized that he needs to play the way he used to, which will open up those kind of extended plays where you get the comeback routes from the wide receivers where they run the route and they come back towards the quarterback to get themselves open. I think you're going to also get some other stuff where once the passing game starts working, I think you're going to start seeing the Broncos running backs start to have a day. Just wearing down the defense of the Rams, which is our Rams Up podcast host there kind of called it out a little bit where they're at their second and third string guys in a lot of positions on the defensive line.
Yeah.
And
it's rough.
and for those of you who don't follow or watch other podcasts, Pat McAfee actually called it out for guys like punters and kickers and stuff. I think the same thing holds true for D linemen and other positions, which is if you're not a starter, you're not necessarily training at a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because you're not used to or you don't expect to play an entirety of a season. And in my opinion, I think you start to see some of these NFL guys that are second and third stringers in some respects get exposed, where you end up getting, these guys that just can't last a full season.
Yeah.
And the Rams have had such injuries similar to the Broncos, the Chargers, less so the Raiders and the Chiefs, to be quite honest. But nonetheless, the Chargers and the Broncos have been decimated by injuries. I think that you're going to start seeing, these, third string, second string guys fade as the season goes on, just because they're not necessarily expecting to play. And as a result,
sorry.
As a result, they're just not going to be able to withstand the 18 game season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say too, I mean, they were third string for a reason, So
no,
they're only capped to a certain degree.
Yeah. There's that point too, where it's just their third string, second string for a reason. They weren't as good as the first string guys. But on top of that, you also have just the basic conditioning component where they weren't expecting to be in the position of being a starter for the entirety of the year. And a lot of these guys weren't necessarily training for that either. You know what I mean?
DZ, I like Josh Downs. That dude's a beast. Just joining in on the side convo.
Yeah. So, Alex, I'm going to throw over to you and your matchup this week.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it'll be rather interesting. I think the Seahawks have some interesting outside linemen in their left tackle and right tackle. I do believe that they are long-term solutions at that position for the team. The real kicker is going to be whether or not their interior line can hold up against your interior rush, and whether or not their defensive backfield can, hold off Patrick Mahomes. The Seahawks have really been exposed in the latter weeks. Again, almost tying back, in my opinion, to what I said earlier in the Broncos segment there, which is the Seahawks have a bunch of young guys that are new to the league. They're not used to playing this physical for this long. And they played really well at the early stage of the season, but we're starting to see the Seahawks kind of fade off. And I think a lot of that has to do with conditioning for these rookies.
No, I mean, they definitely hit on some of their picks and are certainly looking to be in a good position to not have to retool as hardcore as people thought going into the season. To me, the biggest thing is going to be, it's got to be a big Travis Kelce show because they're pretty bad at defending tight ends.
I think that's an understatement. But go ahead.
I mean, yeah, saw Kittle go absolutely berserk mode last Thursday when I have him in a fantasy bye week. The one time he decides to score 20 points, probably won't do it this week, but I imagine Kelce will do the same.
You never know.
I mean, looking at them this year, they give up 110 passer rating and 8 touchdowns to tight ends.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd imagine Kelce is going to have a pretty successful day stat-wise. I mean, he already usually is a lock to have pretty good stats regardless of who he's playing, but you kind of put that context to it. I
think it's a great question.
Oh, I mean, it's an ever-growing one at this stage because, I mean, he's had, 7-8 straight years of 1,000 yards. Didn't really play his rookie year. He's 31 now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a solid. I think he can do what he's doing now for another 4. Mainly because he doesn't play like Gronk. He doesn't. He's more of a Tyler Lockett of tight ends. Like he's mashing that A possession catch button to get the ball, just get down. Like where he runs, he'll run when it's there.
Nice
but
man.
he's not looking to pick up rack yards just because he can. Like he avoids contact, and to me, I mean, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but I mean, he's been available a lot, and I think that
that's fair. That's fair.
I think that kind of is a testament to how he plays, because you don't see him, you don't see what Juju's doing. I mean, every week Juju gets smacked. That's like a borderline, borderline targeting call. But you don't see Kelce taking hits like that, and you don't see Mahomes put him in situations.
Gronk did that all the time, though. He basically was like, "I'm the ogre on the field,
wrecking balls."
I'm gonna run you over.
Yeah, I mean that was Gronk. Like Gronk just had I get the ball. Who can I hit right now? And I mean, but that's why you saw him fall pretty hard, because he just kept getting injured, and that tacks on no matter how good you are, because. Was it Father Time? Always wins, and then you only expedite that a little further.
You can't be 6'7" and play the tight end position.
Yeah. Gronk had a story. I can't remember what Super Bowl it was, but he had a hole in his quad. It was just getting injections to not deal with the pain. And I was like, Jesus. You don't see Kelce doing stuff like that. And I mean, he's a smooth route runner, and a lot of the game plan and scheme with Kelce is hit him right when he's open. I mean, it's it's very clearly designed that, they anticipated him to be wide open, and he usually is by whatever everyone else is running. So, I think another 4 years of him getting 1,000 yards is not really unrealistic. And it could even go further. I mean, the biggest thing at this stage is not having, not having a significant, injury to kind of railroad where he's going with everything. But
I think that Kelce's going to start getting to a point where his body will start to break down a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean that's just where the injuries, and time's going to come in. He hasn't had an ACL.
I just think it takes You can't be that big of a dude, and he's a big dude. He's not a small guy. He's a big dude. You can't be that big of a dude and sustain consistent hits like he has, even though he's not taking the unnecessarily, Gronk literally ran into contact and said, I'm going to win.
Oh, yeah.
Kelce has lasted at the level he has because he's not trying to do that. But by the nature of how often he's been targeted because he's been as successful as he has, he's just simply taking hits because of his size.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, also too, I feel like if you watch him further and watch him every catch, it's I feel like it might even be 75% of the time he's getting tackled, but not really, because he's going down before the guys are even there hitting him. And that's why I call him the Tyler Lockett. You watch Tyler Lockett, that dude just gets the ball and hits the ground. And you wonder why someone who's freaking 5'9" and a $180 has lasted this long. Although, ironically, broke his hand, so he's not playing.
He might have started an omen, so I wouldn't talk to him on it.
It's going to be a big DK Metcalf show for San Francisco. For Seattle. But yeah, I mean, just Kelce's just a kind of in my maybe bias assessment to some degree, kind of a unicorn of a tight end, because he's so good at running routes, and he's kind of like the total package in terms of being a vertical threat from that position, whereas some other people are. You're right, DZ, but we're other people your Gronks and stuff, or we're more smash mouth, more fit the mold of just a big bruiser at the position. So I just don't really see I haven't seen any signs that he's not going to continue doing what he's been doing, especially when you got Mahomes and Reed scheming to get him so involved. I mean, it's not that hard to get 1,000 yards in a season when you're getting the ball thrown your way, 18 times. So
Yeah, I think this is just a matter of whether or not his body can sustain what he's doing.
yeah, no,
Right.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I actually think this is a physical. Are you genetically capable of keeping this up?
Yeah. Which, I mean, hey, look at his brother. That dude does nothing but take hits, and he's still playing at a high level.
There you go.
Maybe it's just in the blood.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
blood.
and I think that just shows that the genetics is there in the family.
Yeah, just a football family, man.
They're just a football family, and there's a few of them out there. I mean,
Yeah, the Matthews.
one could argue
the
the one could argue the Gronkowskis are within that mold too. Even though Rob was an extreme outlier,
I'd say the best one is the Clay Matthews family. Like, you got his dad, who's like the greatest offensive lineman to ever play, and then his cousins, Jake Matthews, who's starting left tackle for the Falcons. You got Clay Matthews, like that's pretty solid football family. But yeah, there are a few of that, like they got that name, they're like destined to be good. But the Bosas, I mean, like you got two bros that were top 5 picks, and
the Watts, the Watts.
They're all still playing.
TJ and Derek, yeah.
Well, I mean, arguably the Gronkowskis are within the upper echelon of that group because I think they had 3 brothers that were all NFL players.
Yeah, but I mean, I think one was a fullback.
Yeah, but he was good.
Yeah, then the other one I think was a tight end too, but
it was tight end, fullback.
Yeah, all Arizona frat boys.
but like the thing is that they were all in that same mold of like bruisers, right? And and those are the types of players that you need in the NFL to be successful. You need those guys that are willing to do the grit.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as today's NFL has gone into I hate to use your team, Alex, but the Patrick Mahomes, like, throw the ball over the football yard and whatnot. You need guys that can get the gritty yards. You need the fullbacks. You need you need those tight ends that are willing to block and throw guys at the way. You need those types of football players. Otherwise, the game doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. But yeah, so back to the Seahawks game. To me, that's the biggest thing is Kelsey. And I mean, he's a big component every week. So, and then the other part, and at least we've been seeing them do it as of late, is run the ball and continue to run the ball the way they have been, because Seattle's also not very good at stopping the run. They gave up 170, last week. Granted, that was McCaffrey and San Fran, who's, always they're going to run the ball 40 times. But I mean, looking at what San Fran did last week with 34 rushes, KC had 33 against Houston. Pacheco's really been coming around. I also need him to play well, so come on. But and then you've been seeing him get McKinnon involved, and I think that McKinnon, as the sort of passing attack weapon they've used, is sort of in the similar realm of the defenders that are probably giving up the same stats to tight ends are going to be covering him as well. So I expect McKinnon, Pacheco, and Kelsey to be the big contributors this week, because saying all that with the passing attack, Seattle does have pretty good corners. They have young corners. They got Quandre Diggs, who's a respectable safety. Like they're pretty solid in terms of their secondary and what defending wide receivers. So, I expect it to be more of the Kelsey show. But Tony's back. I think Hardman should be coming back this week, but they're also not really trying to rush him back since they have the playoffs. So they're like, I feel like at this point it's a 50-50 shot if he plays before the last game of the season, if even that, just because of the comments Reed's made. But if they're out there with a fully loaded receiving core too, I mean, they might be, making efforts to get those guys involved as well. But I mean, the biggest thing in terms of, that's kind of been the story the last couple of weeks, but the biggest things in terms of them, this being a really good game or another one where I'm leaving like, holy hell, is just going to be the defense and getting to Geno. Because the defense is successful, which, I mean, any defense is successful when you're getting into the backfield and hitting the quarterback. But, I mean, for the Chiefs, that's the only way that they're statistically successful. I mentioned they're fourth in sacks. I think they have 43. Pretty respectable for the people they got doing the pass rushing. I think Geno got sacked like
a lot.
Geno got sacked 3 times last week. Granted, though, like Nick Bosa's out there. We don't have Nick Bosa. We have Chris Jones, but he has been sick. So I from what I've seen, he's fully healthy. So that may be a game changer as well. But I mean, that's the biggest thing for this game to be what I would call, I mean, not really a blowout, but a healthy win. They just need to get pressure and not just not letting Davis Mills, cook you up with guys that I don't even know.
Right.
With your Clifford Franklins.
The Clifford Franklins. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the Chiefs win, and really these next next 3 games are pretty important ones. Kind of as I mentioned as the early point of the show, like when they won the Super Bowl in 2019, you could kind of feel that because they were gelling at the right time and really picking up steam. And you go back and look at that season, I mean, they were progressively winning by more and more. And you're not getting that point even when they went back. I mean, they always have some point where you can tell, like, okay, this team's going to make a good run. And I prefaced it going into it that I don't think that they're where they're at and where they're going in terms of progressing into the later half of the season. I don't see them as a team that's picking up steam at the right time to make a deep run. Like, they could prove me wrong, but to me, like, for playing Seattle, Denver, and Las Vegas, like, though they need to have kind of statement wins in all 3 of those if they want to be going into this playoffs with a good taste in their mouth, other than like just winning the division and being there to get your participation trophy. So I think that you see them, kind of make an effort to do more offensively in hopes that the defense can kind of be a little better stat wise because they're not on the field as much.
No, I think that's totally fair. That's totally fair. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do us for the show tonight, though. We've covered all the games and all the things coming up for the week ahead and the week that is now behind us. So with that in mind, like and subscribe to this video if you have not already done. And obviously subscribe to the channels here on YouTube and everywhere else. For those of you who joined us on Twitter, we thank you for joining us. However, if you did want to leave us a comment, you do need to come over to Facebook or YouTube so we can see those. That is a Twitter issue, not an us issue.
It's a lot, Elon.
We do try to make sure that we call that out on an show by show basis, just so that we can interact with all of our fans as often as we can. And ladies and gentlemen, until next week, this has been the Wild Wild West podcast, where the West Side is the best side. And until next week, where we delve into everything AFC West and our respective teams. Peace.